Welcome to Starseed Gathering podcast, hosted by Annabelle Ivaya, deep soul healer, author, and spiritual mentor. We invite you to dive into ascension, spiritual awakening, and psychic abilities together. With this beautiful guest of ours today, be sure that your senses, your consciousness, and your level of awareness will rise for your highest good. Open your heart. Let your higher self show you what is the most important part of this conversation for your path at this moment, and leave anything that doesn't resonate behind. If you feel like you need any support at any time, please reach out to me or my guest so that we can support you in your spiritual path. With so much love, enjoy the content.
Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to Starseed Gathering podcast. I'm so excited to have a new guest to share with you some more of her work, a little bit of how it all came along for her, how it came about, the spiritual awakening, her gifts, her spiritual business. So I really am super thrilled to see you, beautiful Ceirra. It's very a pleasure to meet you here. And let's start this beautiful conversation. Just present yourself. Tell us where you're at on this planet. For all of you, I'm back in Canada, so that's the big news of this podcast for me. I got here a week ago, at the time that we record this, so that's a big change for me. But yeah, go ahead, Ceirra. Just let us know who you are a little bit more, and let's connect.
So my name is Ceirra. I am a Beyond Quantum Healing practitioner, a divine blueprint activator through light language. So I'm here to really activate your spiritual gifts and give you clarity on what those are, because we all have these magical superpowers that we brought into this life. I'm a universal channel. I'm a spiritual intuitive coach, and currently I live in New York City. And as we talk about my story, you'll find out how I ended up in New York City, because it's actually a place where I never thought I would end up.
Right. That's so funny because I can definitely attest to that. Like once you actually allow the universe, your guides to guide you, you have to be it is limitless where you can actually end up. And I've been traveling my whole life, mostly in the northern atmosphere, but still in America. But still, it's been quite interesting to see where my guides wanted to bring me. And even going back to my hometown now after 5 years away, I can definitely see the shift in me. Maybe not the shift in in this place on the planet yet, but there's definitely changes. So tell us more about your awakening, beautiful soul, or whatever you'd like to share with the public here.
Yeah, so I guess we'll just start from the very beginning. So I was actually raised as an obese child. I really struggled with food. That's really where some of my addiction problems started. I absolutely love my parents, that they were doing the best that they knew how to do with some of the conditioning and the programming that they brought into this life. So that's really where it started. Was I started having these unhealthy relationships with food, and then it kind of just started to progress from there. So from 13 to 14, it progressed to even things like self-harm, and then I started using drugs at a really young age. I just remember I could never figure out my emotions. Emotions just felt so hard for me. They felt so confusing. We're never taught how to feel anything. And so I was looking in all of these places outside of myself to make myself feel better. And that continued, that cycle continued. And then it got really bad to the age When I was around 21, that's when I really started getting into a heroin and fentanyl addiction. And I was actually addicted to heroin and fentanyl for about 8 years. And then when the universe came together, I had this incredible opportunity to move to New York when during the pandemic. And so me and my boyfriend just went to New York from Colorado because I'm originally from Colorado. We went to New York. We fell in love with it. We were like, we think this might be our opportunity. So we moved to New York. I completely had to change my environment. And that was when I started doing Joe Dispenza's work. So I will tell, I think that Joe Dispenza is such a beautiful gift to this world, and I will mention him in every single interview I ever have.
We all have, yeah. I think it's very interesting. The first person I've started to follow that really hit me super like deeply was about during the pandemic as well. And it was Chloe Cousins. She's from the UK and I love her work so much. She's very, very, very soft soul, very intuitive. She does speak light language. That's the first time I listened to light language with her. She doesn't do as I do. I sing it now and I speak it so much. For her, it's just little things during the meditations. And I was like, ooh, it feels good. I like the sound of that. I like the vibration. And I was just like, oh, how interesting is that? Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so what happened once you got to New York? Tell us.
So once I got to New York, I started on it's called methadone maintenance. So when you're in an opiate addiction like that, they put you on methadone. And it's actually only called a maintenance program because you're never actually meant to get off of it. They don't actually try to taper you off in any kind of way. Um, so Joe Dispenza always says that like you have to make a decision greater than yourself. And I just saw that I had this new, beautiful opportunity that the world had opened up to me. And so I really like dove deep into Joe Dispenza's work of like changing one limiting belief about myself at a time and really looking at the habits. I had let my body control my entire life. It was completely on automated programming my entire life. And I was started meditating almost 3 hours a day sometimes. And I would just let myself cry my eyes out to work through that emotion.
Right. Right. I don't know if you know my background, probably not, because we don't know each other a lot yet. But I was a social worker in mental health and addiction for a long, long time before I did this work. And the last job I had, one of the last jobs I had, it was in a center where people would stay for 3 months, and they had a lot of methadone and everything else as they were coming out of, detox, and then they would come in. So I remember how difficult it seemed to be for these people just to connect to themselves, to like even remember that their heart can actually guide them. Like they've never learned that, and it was just most of them. Even when I was working in mental health, like the past of these people was so difficult, right? It's so when you look at the past, and I don't know how your childhood was, mine was very difficult too. We needed a place to kind of run away from all of these difficult emotions that we didn't know how to deal with. Like they were there, but it was like I'm gonna smoke, I'm gonna drink, I'm gonna do whatever I can to not feel this because it feels so awful. And I don't know what to do. So I remember also when I started this awakening how much I would cry and how much I would just exude all of those emotions and feel things I had never felt before. It was overwhelming by times, but I knew I was releasing things for eons of time that was stuck in my body in all of those different places. So it must have been very freeing for you to be able to connect to your heart again.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't even know if I was ever connected to my heart before because since I always, so as a BQH practitioner, one of the first questions I always ask is, were you religious growing up, or did anything spiritually ever happen to you when you were younger where you had like maybe that idea like, hey, maybe there's something more to this life? For me, I never had that. So for me, it was truly just like me, my 3D experience and my addiction, all the way up to about the age of 28. And it was actually like those moments when I was crying my eyes out where I started having like I'm very clairaudient. So I started having just like these really loving voices coming in. And then um I didn't know about star seeds or anything. And I was doing Joe Dispenza's meditation, and I was almost towards the end of it. And I remember I was kissed on the forehead by an alien.
Oh, wow. How
And I
beautiful. For the star seeds out there, we find it very beautiful when they connect to us this way. Just for those that don't know about it, for us, it's a gift.
well, my 3D self had never had any kind of experience like this. So I was like, oh my God, what happened?
Right. They can
It
be
was,
so intense. They
I
can be
had
so
that
intense.
moment where I was like, I couldn't figure out what it was. I had no idea who the Octurians were or who any of these like Starseed collectives were. And after that, that was like, then after I tapered myself down to methadone, I started like getting these experiences where I felt really connected to the Octurians. I realized that that alien that had kissed my my forehead in meditation, that was actually a parallel life as an Octurian that I'm currently living. And she's
Oh,
been one of my main guides in this life since.
how cool is that? How cool is that? And I think, yeah, we were chatting a little bit before we started this recording, and I think it's like remembering that once you actually allow yourself to release, then there's so much beautiful beings and connect it can connect with you because you don't have so much of this density. And also like they can make you travel to different lifetimes. They can make you do so many things, and you like when it's you start this process, you have no idea, right? We have no idea about alternative lifetimes. We don't know about soul fragments. We don't know anything that we both know at this moment. So it's very, very beautiful that you could get this connection. I remember my connection with my Korean family too, which happened back in 2021, I believe. I can't remember, but it was like a reunion and really like showing me like you're not alone. Like I was crying. It was really very difficult time in my life at that moment, and I had a very difficult breakup, and I was in a country where I knew nobody, and it just felt like my life was falling apart again. And they came in so strongly, and it was one of the times I felt the most loved, seen, heard in my whole entire life in this incarnation. It was just I was feeling like I was poured into a pool of love, and there was just love around me, and I was crying because it was like, oh my God, they love me so much. I love you too, and I didn't know what I was actually, when we're homesick, and I was like, oh, this is you I've been longing for, your connection, this love, this connection that is so dear to my heart. Can you relate? Can you relate to that part as well?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So now that I have done things like breath work, I had a Kundalini awakening, I have found these different places, these different kinds of consciousness, and it made me realize that I was doing drugs to try and or to feel those feelings again. I was searching for that love that I had lost. And it was when I finally got sober. So I started really tapering myself off of methadone more and more. Every single time I would cry my eyes out. You're absolutely right. I would get more of who I am. The Octurians would give me more of past lives, what I'm here to do. But my spiritual awakening was really catapulted when I fully got off of methadone.
Right.
Um, I will it was day 4 of sobriety, and I was doing Kundalini breath work just so that I could sleep. Like I hadn't slept in 4 days. I
Wow.
was just doing anything I could to get through the withdrawal because methadone is so addictive that I tapered myself all the way down to just like 5 milligrams, which is absolutely nothing, and still went into full withdrawal. And so
Wow.
it was day 4 where I was laying on the ground doing breath work because I didn't know what else to do. And I just had this experience where I think my third eye in that moment just blew open. And I
Yay! Party!
really was. I just laid on the floor laughing. I felt so connected to everything. I knew in that moment that there was so much more in this life than what we had ever been taught. It's almost like that was like my gift of sobriety, and it was so beautiful.
Wow. Wow, what a strength we have, right? To go through that. You see all of those peoples that have addictions of many different kinds, and they feel very helpless in how they are going to be able to actually stop being addicted to something, to someone, to whatever the type of addiction they have. So how strong your soul was to kind of see like, no, I'm not gonna say what people tell me. I'm not gonna continue taking this methadone and just being stuck in this realm. So probably like I can kind of sense that your soul was like, okay, we're ready. It's gonna be hard, but you're gonna have so much support. You're not gonna do it alone. You're not gonna do it alone. I love this. And I hope that anyone that's actually watching this and listening to our words can see that if you're choosing the highest timeline, if you're choosing to get better in something, you're gonna receive the help. I can attest to the same thing. Every time it was so difficult, and I was like, okay, I'm giving up. I'm giving up on the spiritual business. I'm giving up on this spiritual path. I'm giving up on whatever, right? Every time I was like receiving so much support, it was like, all right, I'll continue. I guess I'm okay. And I could actually very much connect when you were talking about the drug, because I used drugs too when I was younger. Used to go through raves and so many different things, and used so many different substances. And I remember that when I was using ecstasy, which was kind of one of the drugs I liked the most, I was really feeling peaceful, and I was feeling so loving everybody, and I was just so like floating, right? I can actually resonate with the fact that probably I was looking to go back to this higher realm that I felt so good, and I was not there anymore. And life here on earth, let's say, it's not a walk in the park. There's a lot of density here, and it can be very difficult to find our way. So, very interesting what you're sharing. Beautiful. Continue on. Tell us how your gifts happen, how this beautiful business of yours has started. Tell us more.
Yeah, so as soon as I had that experience, where I just knew there was so much more to this life, that was when so many of my spiritual abilities turned on, and I really went from 0 to 100. I know a lot of people are really being catapulted into their spiritual awakening right now. So when I say catapulted, that is truly what I mean. And it was really difficult because I'm very clairaudient, so I was hearing a lot of voices. I was actually working in a hospital, and all of a sudden I could see and sense attachments, and it terrified me because I had no understanding of it. Um, and it was actually really overwhelming. Like I felt like I was on a sensory overload for probably a good month, where it was hard to even like look at lights because all my spiritual abilities came online. Plus my nervous system was turning back on, not having any kind of a any kind of an opiate in my system. So it was really intense for me. It definitely took time for me to ground into this reality again.
Right. That's very interesting. The image I'm being shown right now is like you were kind of numb, right? On this in this room, but a bit numb by whatever. And we all have been there, I think. And then it's actually they're actually showing me this capital thing here on top. I'm like, okay, now you're like floating. You have all of these gifts and like inviting you to surrender, to get to know these gifts, why you had those, and what was going on in your life. It must have been quite a big change, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because I'd never even heard of what a starseed was. And I had my entire Octurian family with me. It felt very overwhelming at first, but and then I also had to work through a lot of unworthiness because I went through addiction my entire life. I'd always had issues with my weight. And so when I went through the spiritual awakening, I had all these beautiful gifts, and they had told me I had all of these connections that just felt so much greater than myself. It did, like, it was hard for me to accept. And it took me, I think I'm still working through layers of unworthiness, of course, but that was definitely a huge, probably one of the biggest things that I personally had to work on other than addiction.
Wow. I can so relate to that too. I think when we've had so many issues with our self-worth growing up because of whatever happened to us, and the way that we see ourselves is like being, we belittle ourselves, we put ourselves less in our priority list for so long, and everything is more important than ourselves. And then your guides are like, you're so powerful and you have all of those gifts and you're gonna hit so many people, and you're like, yeah, right, right. It looks really cool. Let me integrate that. Let me integrate that. And I think it's part of the awakening too, right? Because it's impossible to receive all of those gifts if we don't have the container to keep them and to actually develop them and anchor them. And if our container is filled with unworthiness and doubt about ourselves and everything, and this can, they cannot kind of enter an anchor. And so they're showing us things, they're sharing with us these beautiful gifts that we've chosen before we incarnated. And then so that we can release the layers, right? Do I really have those gifts? Oh my God, I'm not sure I have those gifts. And then you're trying and you're like, ooh, I have those gifts. Am I worthy of those gifts? Like, what are people gonna think about what I'm sharing? Are people gonna like it? There's so many waves of that coming forth. Yeah. How was it for you to embody your gifts and start, even at some point, tell us the click of, okay, I need to do that as a business now?
My spiritual awakening has been so beautiful and so divinely calculated. To
Divine
be
timing, they say, huh?
like, I've definitely just had to surrender, and I'm like, higher self, take the wheel, because my life is so much more beautiful now than I ever could have imagined. And
Wow.
so I remember once I got sober, then I started learning about Dolores Cannon. I started looking into QHHT, BQH, and I just knew that that was it for me. I knew that I'd be good at it. I knew that that I'd be passionate about it. My Starseed awakening was so incredible, and it truly changed my entire life. And so I was like, I want to do that for other people. I want to hold that space for other people. And so I actually got certified in BQH before I even had a session myself.
Oh wow. Oh wow. So you were just like really trusting the process, really trusting your gut about that specific method, because there's so many out there, right? So okay, so that was kind of a, you fell in love with this technique and you knew that was gonna be part of what you would offer to people.
Yeah, absolutely. So then I had a QHHT session for myself. It absolutely helped me trust the information that I was receiving because, of course, in the beginning, you're given so much information. You're like, oh, I think I feel connected to the Arcturians, but I don't know. You don't know how to trust yourself, and you don't know how to
Right.
trust your intuition. And so that first QHHT session for me was everything. Because of course my guides came through and they just repeated everything they had been telling me.
Well, she needs to hear that one more time. So let's do and use this session to confirm everything. And that's so funny. You're pointing something out that I think all of us, when we start this awakening to our gifts and our origins, it's like, well, is that really true? And am I inventing those connections? Can that actually be true? Can that actually be part of my story and in the realms of this universe? And it's really nice, and I think we can give that to our guides. They are very patient and they will keep telling us until we're ready to move. Sometimes they're like, okay, enough doubts, enough thinking and overthinking, now do it. But it's good that they're patient, because we need time to integrate this reality that changes everything for us, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think sometimes you just need to like say it out loud to another person. Because
Right.
especially during a starseed awakening, it feels very lonely. There's not very many people around you going through it. If you're lucky, you have one other person in your life that might understand, or at least you could like say what you're going through, but a lot of us don't even have that. And I just think that there's so much power behind that first QHHT session where you can just say it out loud to somebody that understands you and to somebody that has gone through the same thing.
Yeah, this is a real thing. This awakening makes us feel very alone by time. That's why I have so many group sessions now. I don't only do one-on-ones, because it was very lonely for me. And I can say, like, with the travels and everything that I have, with my sole purpose and my mission to spread my light everywhere on this planet, it also has brought some lonely time because of changes, because your friends don't move with you. Now with internet, it's beautiful though. I've met so many beautiful souls, and I think it's beautiful that, yeah, we are welcoming, and that someone can feel that they are heard and seen for who they are. They don't have to check the words that they're saying, you know, they can express themselves fully and be very welcome in what they're sharing. I love that. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. So then from
So,
BQH, so I got certified in BQH. I started that practice. I started my YouTube channel. I just started doing BQH sessions with another practitioner just to start sharing my own experiences. So it's actually really interesting. If you go to my YouTube channel, you can almost see my entire spiritual awakening from the very beginning.
oh wow, how cool is that? I love
Yeah.
that. Okay, so it's like videos that are capturing what you went through.
So I was doing hypnosis on my with another practitioner every single week and then uploading it. So I was channeling the Octurians. I was asking my higher guidance about the things that I was struggling with in the very beginning of my spiritual awakening. And it's so beautiful because you can actually see my progress that I've made just by like looking at my old channeling, because
Right.
QHHT also opens you up as a channel because we all have the ability to channel. We just have to get past the analytical mind. And so my entire spiritual journey is on my YouTube channel. It actually turned out to be the coolest thing.
Right, right. And I love that you followed your guidance, because, you know, a lot of people would want to have that private, right? Well, I'm asking questions very personal to what I'm going through. Why would I put that online? And what I've noticed is that the more we share our story, the more we help others anyway, because some people will connect to your story. I'm sure that a lot of people will have like just listen to what you're sharing today, and they'll be like, oh, maybe I want to connect with her, or maybe I need to actually find someone that I can share more of who I am with. So I love that you were courageous enough to actually share these deep part of who you are on YouTube.
I think that the addiction that I had is why I have so much trust now in the universe, because people that go through those kinds of addictions, they don't live through them. Like either they don't live through them, or they it they don't receive the opportunity that I had to find sobriety. So I have so much faith in this world. I have so much trust that the universe has a greater plan for me, because this world has become so much more magical than I ever could have imagined it to be.
Right. Right. It's just such a beautiful story. I love your story. It's just really uplifting. And I wrote my life story in a book, and I published this last year, and it was very kind of demanding, right? You look at your past and you're like, man, there's so much heaviness, there's so much trauma, there's so much difficulties. And then when there's this shift, you're like, oh my God, I actually can see dragons and unicorns now. Who would have known? And all of the beautiful meditations and the clients that we can support, and seeing the change in others, that is so more instantaneous than it would have been in a different type of work. For example, my social work job background, I mean, people were coming back with the same issues over and over and over and over and over again. And I was like, oh my God, I want to see them thrive. I want to see them happy. I want to see them extended and free. And the system definitely is not made for that. We can agree on that. But now that those gifts, as you said, I think that's where we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. That find someone that makes you feel good, that find someone where you find that you can be truly yourself and authentic, and receive messages and heal and let go of what doesn't serve you, so that you can, like both of us, experience this divine frequency here on earth. You don't have to go anywhere. You can just stay here, actually experience beautiful things. Ceirra, tell us something that you've experienced at the personal level or at the work level, whatever you want to share, that was just really amazing, like something that surprised you a lot, maybe not so long ago, whatever, like maybe a manifestation that actually got activated in your life. What would you say?
So I would say that about every 3 to 4 days, once I'm pretty grounded, my guides like to throw something new at me.
Right.
So
It never
um,
ends.
it's hard to just come up with one thing. I would say that the beginning of your spiritual awakening, just to start testing it, just start playing with it, start asking for signs from the universe. So I remember when I still worked at the hospital, I just asked for a sign. I was like, well, I want to see a stegosaurus. I tried to think of like the weirdest thing I've ever seen in New York City.
Wow.
And I was like, just show me a stegosaurus. And 2 days later, I was walking through Central Park, and there was this little toy of a stegosaurus on the rock. And I was like,
There you go.
oh.
There's nothing that cannot show you. If you're very precise with what you want to see a sign, this is so funny. I love that so much. Because you can see a feather, you can see a rock, and you're like, well, maybe this feather was for everyone that just walked this path. Maybe it was not just for me. So asking for something specific and then saying it, how cool is that? Your guides are awesome.
Yeah, and like in the beginning, we need that reassurance. We need things like that for the confirmation until we can fully believe and trust. And so that was still probably one of the coolest things from the beginning of my spiritual awakening.
Love it. Love it. Now, tell us what you offer. Well, you talked about the sessions, the hypnosis sessions that you're doing, but tell us more about the services that you actually offer to this beautiful planet.
So, my divine gift in this life is actually divine blueprint activation. So, I am here to activate your divine blueprint, activate the spiritual superpowers that you brought into this life, and clear any of the distortions from your energy so that we can get to those superpowers. So, during a divine blueprint activation, what I do is I completely clear and cleanse your energy. I were if there's past lives that need to be cleared that might come up, I really try to walk you through that story so you know what that lifetime is that was having such a tight vibrational hold over you. I help send any attachments around you or attached to you. I help send them back to the light. And then we work through the chakras. And so each chakra actually holds a different blueprint with the different superpowers that you brought into this lifetime. So it's my job to make sure that your chakras are fully functioning correctly, they're spinning in the right direction. And then, depending on your guides, your higher self, they will tell me what they would like activated in that specific session for you.
How cool, how cool. I love that. And do you work mostly online? Do you work in person too?
So right now my business is online. So you can do all of the sessions with me online. The way that Divine Blueprint came to me was my Arcturian self is actually in the galactic realm right now, and she creates divine blueprints for planets. And
Wow.
so it's like the as above, so below. So she's creating matrices for planets for those realities. And then I'm here to activate people on a spiritual level, on an individual level.
How cool. I love that. I actually have a picture. I'm very clairaudient. When people talk, I get very clairvoyant and I could actually see her doing her work and creating the grids and things. It's really, really cool. I love that. I love that. As you said, you're kind of mirroring her galactic work here on Earth. How cool is that? This is really, really cool. I really love it. And so would you have anything else you'd like to share as we end this episode? Anything that your last words for this session, what would you share? Beautiful.
To start your day with laughter. So I was always that person when I was younger where even when people were angry, I would laugh. And I could never figure out why. I just thought that I made people really angry.
Right. It's like they don't want to hear you laugh, but you're the it was just coming out.
Yeah, it would just come out of me. And I was like, why am I like this? All I do is make people more angry. But I truly think that this is a superpower that we have right now to help raise the vibration, to help raise the frequency immediately. Start your day with laughter. Like before you put your feet on the ground, watch a funny puppy video, write a joke.
Anything.
Yeah,
Right.
write a joke next to your bed that makes you smile. Tell a funny joke to your partner. Anything to start your day off that way because that vibration is what's going to hold your frequency throughout the day. And then just remind yourself that you don't have to take life so seriously. I think
Oh,
laughter is like the most powerful tool that we have right now. And I think that people get very caught up in the ascension and the awakening that we forget to laugh.
this is so true. I totally agree. I think even myself, I'm taking this have to ascension very seriously, clearing everything, healing those layers, making programs, being present for my clients. But I do love to laugh a lot too. And I think the laughter, as you said, and anything that makes you feel alive and open is just such a gift. I mean, we're not here only to suffer and heal. We're here to enjoy the earthly life, which could be anything from dancing, painting, laughing, whatever it is that makes you smile, right? I love those last words. Such a
Yeah.
beautiful soul you are, a
Aw.
beautiful soul full of wisdom. I really invite you all to connect with Ceirra if you want to have any support in your spiritual awakening or moving forward in any steps. I'm pretty sure that she can help you all the way from the beginning to anywhere you are on this timeline of the spiritual awakening. And it was such a pleasure to connect with you, lovely.
Yeah, it was so great to be here. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much. And I'll see you all in the next one. Her contact information will be below. Bye, everyone.